On May 4th, the Wall Street Journal published an article titled, "How Bad is China's Economy? The Data Needed to Answer is Vanishing." The article noted, "Not long ago, anyone could comb through a wide range of official data from China. Then it started to disappear. Land sales measures, foreign investment data, and unemployment indicators have gone dark in recent years. Data on cremations and a business confidence index have been cut off. Even official soy sauce production reports are gone. In all, Chinese officials have stopped publishing hundreds of data points once used by researchers and investors, according to a Wall Street Journal analysis. In most cases, Chinese authorities haven't given any reason for ending or withholding data. But the missing numbers have come as the world's second biggest economy has stumbled under the weight of excessive debt, a crumbling real estate market, and other troubles, spurring heavy-handed efforts by authorities to control the narrative. The report also highlighted that the suppressed data includes metrics such as the number of new stock market investors, the debt levels of toll highways, and the number of individuals receiving unemployment benefits in urban areas. It's somewhat understandable that these figures might be withheld to obscure the true state of the economy. However, the Wall Street Journal expressed profound confusion over the suspension of other datasets, struggling to comprehend why they were discontinued. For instance, data on soy sauce production and cremation numbers were halted. Most perplexing of all, the estimated floor area of elementary school toilets, which ceased being reported in 2022. Allow me to clarify the Wall Street Journal's bewilderment. The Chinese bureaucracy is primarily concealing two critical areas, the economy and the population. Economic data in China has become politicized, serving as a tool to project strength externally. Population data, meanwhile, is closely tied to a fundamental benefit for bureaucrats. It's widely acknowledged that China's population figures are fabricated. Why falsify them? Because for local officials, whether at the level of a neighborhood, city, or province, the allocation of civil servant positions is directly linked to population density and total population. A region with a larger or denser population secures more institutional positions, including government roles. And what do these positions represent? A reliable income stream. Data on elementary school toilets, soy sauce production, and cremation numbers are, in fact, part of a single series population data. Institutions commonly employ two methods for population surveys, the condiment method and the salt consumption method. The average consumption of salt or condiments in a region tends to be stable and consistent. No region consumes salt as if it were a staple, correct? Thus, population estimates can be derived from salt consumption, or from condiments like soy sauce or vinegar. These methods provide a unique insight into population trends. This approach indirectly calculates population density. It also enables estimates of health conditions such as hypertension or cardiovascular diseases, as high sodium intake is associated with various ailments. There exists a chart correlating sodium intake with disease risks, indicating how many grams of salt consumed daily increase the likelihood of cardiovascular issues by a given percentage. With sufficient data, metrics like tobacco, alcohol, sugar, or tea consumption, combined with actuarial models, can not only estimate population size, but also determine disease prevalence and average life expectancy in a region. This is entirely feasible. The Chinese Communist Party has simply eliminated this series of highly correlated data, what we refer to as strongly relevant data. Yet this effort is futile. Sugar consumption data must still be reported. Even if that were halted, cooking oil or poultry production data would still need to be disclosed. As the proverb goes, it's not the thief's theft you fear, it's the thief who keeps watching. I am one of those persistently observing the CCP. Constructing data models and identifying correlations poses no challenge for data experts. Whatever data the CCP suppresses, experts will reconstruct. If they block unemployment rates, experts will estimate the true unemployment rate. If they conceal CPI data, experts will calculate the real CPI. Unless the CCP ceases releasing all data, the truth will always surface. The persistent observer will always find a way to uncover the truth. The economy is a systemic entity. The CCP cannot obscure reality by merely adjusting CPI or GDP figures. Economic performance forms a cohesive, self-verifying whole. You claim GDP growth exceeds 5%, yet unemployment is rampant. You assert CPI is between 1% and 2%, but inventory levels are surging. You declare consumption is stable and improving, yet median wages are plummeting. You report bank non-performing loan rates at 1.2% or 1.3%, but sales of bad loan assets have soared exponentially. Falsifying a single data point is straightforward, but systemic data manipulation is extraordinarily difficult. For companies, it's easy to show a profit on financial statements, but reported profits trigger tax obligations. You can't simply fabricate numbers and leave them untouched. So, when do listed companies typically falsify their records? And when is the deception most egregious? Either when they're on the brink of collapse, falsifying data at great cost to survive, or when they're meeting a local official's performance target in exchange for subsidies or tax exemptions. For other companies, those neither facing existential crises nor receiving government incentives, why would they fabricate data? Are they eager to pay more taxes or merely idle? Suppressing data is a particularly misguided strategy, as no economy can become a complete black box. Withholding data only increases the cost of accessing information. But consider, who can afford to bear that cost? Those determined to act and capable of doing so. If economic data is meant to serve the public, it must be disclosed, no matter how unflattering. When data becomes a political instrument, the result is precisely this. Even if hundreds of datasets are discontinued, there are always ways to uncover the truth. Imagine a cafeteria boasting, "Our cafeteria is beloved by students, they consume a ton of rice daily." Yet upon inspection, it has only 2 household rice cookers. How could it produce a ton of rice each day? The cafeteria might claim, "To cut costs and improve efficiency, we've outsourced rice production." But then you find their daily dishwashing detergent use is under 100 milliliters. How can they clean all those dishes with so little detergent? Every economic action is linked to an extensive chain of cause and effect. Each move in a society's economy is like tossing a stone into a calm lake. The stone's size determines the splash and the ripples it creates. And what do those ripples signify in our understanding? Common sense. The Chinese government claims there were 12 million newborns in 2020, yet anyone born in China knows every child receives vaccinations. How many smallpox vaccine doses were administered in 2020? 5.4 million. In 2022, the average Chinese person spent 5 hours daily on their phone. By 2024, in a first-tier city like Guangzhou, this rose to 5 hours and 20 minutes. Recall that 2022 was the year of stringent COVID-0 policy lockdowns. What does this increase in phone usage indicate about unemployment? It's soaring. A single action generates hundreds, even thousands of consequences. How could the CCP possibly suppress all related data? To estimate newborn numbers in China, the data is straightforward milk formula sales, diaper sales, oxytocin sales, or labor-inducing drug usage. When these metrics show no increase yet newborn figures supposedly surge, does that make sense? Have Chinese infants evolved to photosynthesize, thriving on sunlight from birth? The CCP's behavior is consistent across contexts. When there's gain to be had, every department rushes to publish data. When there's no benefit, they vanish. This pattern is clear. If we continue probing what the CCP conceals, it transcends economic issues and becomes political. It concerns the interests and power of CCP officials. 2-second gap at the end. Why has the CCP ceased reporting land revenue data? Isn't that intricately tied to officials' interests? Why stop reporting on elementary school toilets? Consider this. In China's old industrial regions like the Northeast, the number of elementary students has declined by at least half compared to 30 years ago. What sustains those schools? Government funding, sometimes municipal, sometimes provincial. Thus, school toilets are not trivial. They are directly linked to the livelihoods of CCP officials, many of whom depend on such allocations. Then there's the number of new stock market investors. This is noteworthy. I've previously mentioned that the emotional cycle of China's stock market is shortening. It once lasted 3 months. By 2023, it dwindled to under a month. Last year it was about 2 weeks, now it's barely 5 days. Why? The market is being harvested too rapidly, with insufficient retail investors to sustain it. Consequently, they stopped reporting new account openings. This lack of transparency is concerning. In the future, more Chinese data will quietly disappear. Suppressing data reveals one thing, an intent to conceal. But in a modern economic system with contemporary production methods, can they truly obscure the truth? This approach is particularly unwise. Why? Because if the CCP seeks to render economic data a complete black box, investment will plummet. In modern corporate governance, data collection and market analysis heavily influence decision-making. Decisions hinge on data evaluation. If the data provided is contradictory or incomplete, how can a company make informed choices? How can decisions be executed? Elevating our perspective, have you noticed? Whenever the CCP halts certain data, a significant issue lurks behind it. The act of discontinuation itself forms a new metric. Call it the Economic Fragility Index or the Economic Decay Index. For instance, if population-related data is discontinued, what does that signify? The population structure is worsening. If unemployment-related data stops, what does that indicate? The job market is irreparable, and so forth. When did highway debt and local land auction revenue data cease? In 2023. What does this suggest? Local government debt began imploding as early as April 2023. They've merely postponed the fallout, but the longer the delay, the greater the catastrophe. Suppressing data is akin to ignoring reality while committing theft, utterly absurd. It's certain, when a metric is discontinued, a problem exists there. Late last year or early this year, didn't China alter its M2 money supply reporting method? What does that imply? Serious issues with social financing and payment liquidity. I suspect local government bond issuance data will soon vanish as well. When the People's Bank of China's balance sheet is no longer published, the CCP's end will be near. Each data suppression brings the CCP one step closer to its collapse. Thanks for watching and joining us on this journey to unveil China's many layers. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and hit that subscribe button to stay updated. See you in the next video.